and welcome back to our third episode of Greece. Today we are covering the infamous Spartans and the heroic story of a woman named Laskarina Bouboulina, who had a huge role in gaining the independence for modern-day Greece. Super exciting stuff and lots of violence in store. And today my friend Kris Soekotjo is back on with me. He was on the Libyan episode. Welcome back to the show.
Just good to be back.
Yes. So Kris is on the Libyan episode, as I mentioned, when we covered Libya's modern-day music revolution. And now you're on another bloody episode.
Wow.
Another.
So you keep me around for the good stuff.
Yeah. I'm like, bloody episode, Kris.
That's right. You know what I like.
So I know you've been to Greece.
I have.
When did you go there?
I have. I went there in 2007. And I know that because it was such an epic trip that 2007 always seems to make it in my passwords.
Wait, why is it so epic to you?
That's the first time that I met a girl and fell in love. It's the first time I got drunk.
Wow.
It was...
What did you drink?
Beer. And the beer's cheaper than water.
Yeah,
so
that's a fun drunk.
It's a fun drunk. Oh, we were in the middle of the day. It was a family friend. And we were just drinking literal pints. And we were lit. And everything in Athens is white. So we were blinded.
Yeah, so right. Wait, that's so
They call it the White City. And
oh my God.
They're not lying.
I didn't think about that.
Oh, yeah. So I always thought it was going to be like that. I always thought like being drunk meant you were just blinded. And that's why you would act like that. But turns out it's not.
Oh, it's amazing. So a lot of firsts for you then.
It was a lot of firsts. And it really is a place, I think, where it has an energy about it.
What color is that energy? I like to think of things in colors.
I think the flag does it pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think the flag really got the colors right.
Mm-hmm. I mean, blinding white.
Yeah.
And the crystal blue.
Blues, yeah. The blues were the ocean. Oh, what a...
Oh my God. I've always wanted to go to Greece.
What a beautiful coastline.
That's been on my mind since I was a wee little ting.
A wee little ting.
I've always been obsessed with Greece, and not really necessarily because of the history until I learned about Spartans. I don't know. I always imagined myself just walking around, and I watched a lot of Greek movies like Troy and stuff.
Troy's a good movie.
I loved that time and era with the flowy dresses, and you look out on a cliff, and you look at the sailing boats leave, and you're like, oh, it's so dramatic. That's what I imagined Greece was like.
Yeah.
And for
at one
you,
point
it was a good drunk and a good kiss.
Great kiss.
What was like something that surprised you about Greece that maybe people don't know? We all know that it's full of ocean and white, beautiful architecture and yummy food. But what's something you would say as a person who's not been there surprised you?
That's a good question.
It's on the spot.
I thought of this, huh? No, I would say my answer is honestly two things, right? One, no one really talks about Greek food.
Oh, what? I do.
Greek food. No, I know. It's not one of those popular cuisines you see.
Like
I mean, you see the
Italian.
Euros and you see it like, you know, you think that's all Greek food, but real Greek food, at least in Athens, was some of the best in Europe. And I've been all over the place. Honestly, some of the best food I've had abroad.
I really believe that. I love Greek food.
Truly. Also the people, the community feeling. That's everywhere. That took me by surprise.
Which I notice when I travel a lot of places, it's either a cat or dog place. Is there more stray cats or more stray dogs? Because there's definitely dogs and cat places.
Yeah. Well, it's funny enough and I think this is truly the answer to the question, is a story. When we went, Athens has a lot of small apartments and they're built all on top of each other. And this also coincides with puppies being really cute. And a cute puppy gets to be a big dog and there's just not enough room in the apartment. And so it just became a thing. When we came there, we saw all these dogs on the street, and dogs are smart. They can get around. So we saw dogs on the subway. We saw dogs. Yeah. Dogs on corners, dogs in streets. Everywhere.
So
dogs.
it's a dog place.
I
would think it's a cat place.
In a big place, it's a dog way.
Wow.
A dog place. Dogs are
in a
everywhere.
big place, it's a dog way.
It's a dog way.
It's a dog way.
Athens, Greece. But we're not here to talk about Athens.
No, we are in a way. We're going to compare it with Sparta. But I did have one last question because I've never personally been to Greece. And so far, we've covered countries no one has really been to. Belize, Libya. So you're the first guest on this podcast who's been to the country we're talking about. What advice would you give to someone to go there? It could be a more practical advice, or it's just like, you've got to go to this one spot.
Another great question. The spot I would say to go to is, of course, where everyone went to at one point in the town, the Acropolis.
My grandmother also mentions the Acropolis.
to see the ability of public discussion. It gave it a spotlight, right? It gave it a place where people could go to communicate ideas. And that has been part of Greece's identity or Athens' identity for so long. And I speak about Athens because that's my experience within Greece. I would imagine towns outside of Athens to be completely different in a very beautiful way. But in my experience, I would say go to the Acropolis, no matter where in Greece you're from, make it a trip. And then a piece of advice is to take your time.
I love that.
Because you're turning corners and you're seeing things that are so incredibly important to the fundamentals of society as it exists now. And also that it's going to be around way before you, way after you, way after who's after you, and way after who's after that. So truly, it's a magical place.
I love that. I love how you say take your time. That's what a lot of places when you travel, just especially when it's overwhelming. That's how I felt in Bangkok. It was so much. And I was only for 3 days, and I don't think I took my time. I think I was like, I got it. Every second
everything.
I need to do everything.
Yeah, that's the trap.
Mainly with the food there. I was like, oh my God, there is so much good food here.
Oh yeah.
I don't think I took a breath without eating. It was just.
So it sounds like you did it right.
I think I did, but I like how you said take your time, because how you said it'll be there before you and after, and I think I would have enjoyed Bangkok more. No matter what I experience, it's my experience.
Yeah, let it find you. Let the city come to you.
Yeah. I think sometimes with these travel podcasts or these travel documentaries, they're like, these are the top 10 things you got to do in this country. And I think it puts that pressure when you go there of, if I don't do this, I didn't do Bangkok. And I think that's what I felt when I went to Bangkok, or that's how I would feel in Greece. That's why I said, what's that one special thing? Instead of, what are the top 10 things? What's that one special thing that happened to you that you recommend someone should do?
Well, the rankings are already the wrong thing to do about it. And no offense, but to throw a little bit of shade to Rick Steves, who makes a career out of kind of telling people how to have this kind of experience in a city. And I think you sign yourself up for that a bit when you want to hit all the sites. And I think that's really the trap of it, is that, you saw it, but were you really there? You know,
or were you following Rick Steves' checklist?
Yeah. Were you in Greece? Were you really there? Or did you see what you wanted to see because someone told you had to see it?
So maybe if you stumble upon the Acropolis, you will have a great time. If you don't do it.
Maybe you had a couple pints on the way.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. So just better ways we can travel and better ways we can experience the culture. But today we are not just going to talk about modern day Greece. We're going to rewind it back and talk about the Spartans, which is one of my favorite things to talk about. My favorite things I learned in college and in high school is about the Spartans. And now, in case some of y'all don't know who the Spartans are, Sparta was a powerful and aggressive city-state in ancient Greece and a military society known as the Spartans. And they were in constant rivalry with ancient Greece. And what do you know about Spartans that you could think of off the top of your head?
Well, in modern history, the movie 300 comes to mind. And obviously the stand at Thermopylae, the gates of Thermopylae, was an incredible feat in human history and has remained so because you still talk about it. I mean, they made a movie out of it, right?
They did.
So
Gerard Butler.
Yeah, Gerard Butler. And spray on tans.
Yeah, honestly, that movie looks insane. It looks like a video game.
Yeah. Oh, that's the cinematography of it, which actually I think added to the epicness. But in a sense of Sparta, a majority of it is that we in America touch on the biggest city states in Greece, and Sparta is one of the most popular for sure because they were so singularly focused on dominating in war. And it was definitely a different philosophy, a way of living than a lot of other people. So, and it took the primal nature of where we all come from and just gave it a sword and a shield.
I love
and taught it how to fight. Yeah, it's super primal, and that's my understanding of it.
That's a really good understanding, and actually a beautiful way to spell that out.
To spit it out.
To spit it out. No, seriously, I love what you said. It's a primal way to give it a sword. It's very primal how they live their lives. So we're going to really be comparing Sparta against Athens. Unlike Athens, it did not emphasize education on the arts or sciences or extracurriculars, only fighting, as Kris was saying. And fun fact, you are only giving a tombstone if you died in battle, not if you died from old age or death just in battle. And everything in society was for military power and strength, and they strive for perfection. And money was outlawed, and equality was enforced. They do not emphasize on pleasure or luxury, just an awful tasting food where they drink this pig's blood soup. And your face right now.
Yeah, that doesn't sound good. That's a little too utilitarian for me.
But for real, being weak is not an option, especially if you were a child. So I can already tell me and you, we love good food and luxury and spas. Personally, this is already intense.
Yeah, I mean, you've definitely come up a few ways than where they would have let you for sure. So maybe it worked out for you.
This is hardcore. So, but surprisingly, since I'm a woman, I actually would have a better chance of thriving and actually enjoying Spartan life versus you as a man. But let's talk about Spartan women, because I don't have to tell you much about how women have really given the shit end of a stick throughout history and even modern times. But Spartan women were really different, since we're comparing it with Athens. In Athens, they were second class. They weren't really allowed to leave the house. They definitely weren't allowed to go to festivals or just be themselves. How Spartan women lived actually angered Aristotle, and he said that the decline of Sparta was because of how they let women rule.
Not everything that left his mouth was a gem.
Yeah, well said. That's nicer what I was going to say. Here's why I disagree with that. In Spartan society, you have the men and the women both contributing to society, while in Athens and most places around the world, women were shunned. If you had two of your races contributing to society, you're going to have a more powerful economy and way of life. So why would you think that's a downfall? I think he just hates women. There's
no explanation, but he's a product of his time, and there's no explanation for that. You would think that, if your true society is only as strong as their weakest link, but if you make the other half of society all weak
just
links,
as strong,
then or too much, right? The Aristotle mean, to bring that up, that too much of one thing is a bad thing. Too much of a good thing is a bad thing. It has to be an Aristotle mean.
Yeah, I wonder if he would say the same thing today, since how women actually can be free. Like, if he would think the same way.
I would think if he was a product of his time today, that he would be educated enough to come to that conclusion himself.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully he's not
I give him the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, let's give him the benefit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds good.
But in general, women in Sparta enjoyed more freedom. They lathered in olive oil. They exercised naked in the gymnasium. They allowed to drink wine, ride horses, own land. They're allowed to have male and female lovers. And they were in charge of city life, expected to participate in religious rituals, and run the estates because the men were always gone. So, I mean, already this is a step up above most women in society of all time.
Yeah. Yeah, and they were a force to be reckoned with, so goes to show you.
Truly. And this just sounds a lot nicer to be in Sparta, to be able to do all this stuff as a woman. But that's because the men were always gone. They were always at war. And what I think is so interesting, I was mentioning about the women having lovers. The men had many lovers, and so did the women. And that's because the men were always at war. And I always think it's so strange, because in our history, homosexuality has been so violently shunned. And in Sparta, it's like, well, no, duh. I'm going to have multiple lovers, men or women. It's praised. It's something that comes with the times, you know? So I think it's interesting how that was just a very obvious choice to have homosexuality in their society.
Yeah. Or to not shun it. To not take it to that level.
Well, a huge reason was because the men were always at war. So the men and the women both were mentors, sexual mentors. So they would be like maybe a 21-year-old, 30-year-old. And this is going to sound gross, but you have to remember it's back then. They would teach like a 12-year-old, a 13-year-old sexuality. So it was really big to have a sexual mentor along with in Greece too, mainly with the men. You have a sexual mentor along with a philosophy mentor. But in Sparta, it was really, really big about an older woman showing you how to have sex and an older man showing you how to have sex.
Yeah, just cut to the chase, you know.
Yeah, but
show certain folks, yeah.
Yeah, but it's also interesting. I learned this in college. So the men, when they did come home from war, they would go through the windows to sleep with their wives, procreate, and then go right back out the window and go right back to the barracks. That's their relationship. That's how much they feel for their wives or their families. They're soldiers first before they are a family man.
Yeah.
They go through the windows. Like, you think someone's breaking in, but it's your husband.
That doesn't make me feel good about that relationship, you know?
No.
I'm sure they have keys. Right?
Yeah, right? I don't know what it was. I was talking about this with my friend and she was just saying it's probably because they're in that war mindset all the time. They think they can't enter their house. They have to go through the window and conquer their own house.
Yeah.
That's how she saw it. I thought that was an interesting take.
I imagine after war, even your own house can look strange.
Yeah. You're always gone. But
Yeah.
because of all this, there was a declining population, obviously because men and women were separated for so long. But slaves, the helots, as they called them, were encouraged to populate. And Spartan men impregnated helot women. So the slave population grew and there just were more and more revolts. So they were definitely having a population issue.
Because they're an island, right? Is Sparta a very big island?
It's actually at the bottom of Greece.
Oh,
it's not an island.
It's not an island. Okay.
It's called I'm going to say this wrong, but it's in an area called Laconia.
Oh, okay.
That's the modern area
Okay,
for Sparta.
awesome.
But
Cool.
so we talk about the women. They have lots of freedom. They can be sexual mentors. They can lather in olive oil. Great. They get to be in charge of city life, which is amazing. So let's talk about the men in Sparta. They had a very, very different life. It's truly horrific. So Spartan men would not fish, farm, or trade, just simply fight. And if not fighting, then training. Family was not important. Bonding with your teammates were. Being born Spartan was enough. You had to prove and earn it. And that came from being born. You had to prove and earn it right the minute you were born. The first test as a Spartan was called the deposits. It's a place of rejection. Children were thrown off cliffs if they were shown as imperfect to Spartan physical standards. In Greece, mostly the baby girls were left into the woods. And that's kind of common among a lot of cultures and histories. They would just throw girls into the wilderness. But men, in Sparta, they would literally throw off the baby boys off cliffs if they were deemed imperfect.
Yikes.
So if you're a preemie or had any, I guess, physical standards they didn't agree with, you were a goner already. It's so horrifying.
Wow.
So the boys were the victims in Sparta, and it wasn't the parents but the city elders who decided which children lived or died. Their decision was final, and no one is going to disobey the leaders and try to save their child later. Boys received an education known as the agage and lived in barracks in the mountains by age 7. They were encouraged to haze and fight, and emphasis on surviving. They were trained by older boys. Food was short, and they were encouraged to steal, and if caught, they were flogged because they didn't get away with it. They were given 1 cloak per year while living in the mountains where it's freezing. They would wear 1 cloak a year. That's disgusting. And cold.
Yeah, that's what they're doing out there. They're learning to fight. They're essentially the Navy SEALs of the ancient world. Everyone's trained as a task force with each other to kill the enemy.
Yeah.
Like, nothing else is important.
Nothing, not even close.
Goal driven. Like, they take everything out of your head and put this mission, right? This purpose that you belong to now.
It's insane. That would already kill me right there. Honestly,
No, you hate the cold.
I hate the cold.
Every time it's cold, I hear about it from you.
I'm literally in Chris's room before, and I was like, "It's so cold." I have a blanket on.
That must be the 30th time you've said it tonight.
So we're
in Los Angeles, everyone.
This would be my demise. This would be my demise in the Spartan, like growing up.
You wouldn't make it past the deposits.
I make it back past the deposits. I could make it past the hazing, but the 1 cloak a year in the mountains, I truly can't get past that. No. So let's say you make it to. Sorry, I lost my place getting so passionate about this cloak.
Yeah.
Okay.
I did go somewhere else for a second.
I know. I'm like, whoa. The Spartans had a slave population called the helots who did everything for them since the men only fought. And the helots outnumbered the Spartans 7-1. The Spartans psychologically tortured the helots more than anything. Individual helots were richly humiliated. For example, they would force them to drink massive quantities of alcohol as object lessons for young Spartans in the virtues of moderation. And a great way they kept their slave population submissive was by annually sending out the most promising boys in the woods at night with a knife and attacking the helots, the slaves, and it was called the cryptia. So disturbing.
Wow.
So now you get to you have to murder someone. Now you're at age 7 or something. You have to go out in the night and just murder someone.
Yeah, but to them, that's what they've been trained to do. That's their purpose.
They feel nothing. That's what I'm getting from this.
Yeah. They probably go out there and think, yeah, we're just going to go kill some people.
Oh my God. It's horrifying.
They probably got excited about it. Think about it. Your mentality is totally different.
Totally different. From the minute you're born, you were taught this is okay.
You don't know anything different.
Yeah, they don't even have education on anything else besides this. So you're right. I guess for them, it's like, woo, we're going to go out to Kratia
Yeah, they
tonight and
probably-
kill a
yeah.
bunch of helots.
Oh, yeah, they probably had a great time doing it.
Oh my God.
There must have been some type of ceremony before.
Oh my God. Yeah, it's an annual thing. But okay, so now let's say you make it to age 12. Let's say you're not absolutely insane at this point or dead. Now you have to hit another rite of passage. This was the annual festival called the Artemis Orthia, praising the god of Artemis, the god of hunting. And there was an altar of cheese in the middle, and the boys had to run and grab as much cheese as possible and fight each other off while the older boys whipped them to death, honestly. So there'd be a circle with the cheese in the middle. The boys had to run through, and the older boys just, yeah. In Roman times, it actually became a popular sport and a leisurely vacation to watch. That's how long this continued. From, I don't know how many years, but all the way up to the Romans, they were going to Sparta just to see this cheese altar shebang.
Wow.
Like, yeah.
Oh, they really had a lot of time to think about how to do this.
Yeah.
Really made it a vacation activity.
And the fact they haven't changed any part of their culture in hundreds and hundreds of years to be like, hey, this isn't probably cool.
It's so embedded in the land. It must be an energy there.
Yeah. I wonder, did you go to the southern part of Greece?
No, unfortunately not. We had to stay close because of everything that was going on around the trip.
Yeah. That's a good question. I wonder what made them so violent? The Greek philosopher Aristotle, he's here again, was dismayed and commented that Spartans turned their children into animals. I definitely agree with that, with Aristotle on one thing.
Yeah.
At least. They turned their children into animals. Mm-hmm. I'm just thinking back when I was 12, like, what was I doing? You know? By
today's standards, they were definitely animals, yeah.
Yeah. You don't think back then too?
I think back then, think about the different tribes. I mean, this is an advanced city-state, but a couple steps backwards from this point, then you get some tribal stuff, right? At this same time in the world, there's very, very similar things happening, just not on a scale of huge cities and armies and
That's
stuff.
True. But I guess it's such an organized way of...
Yeah, but that's what made him so great. I mean, it's really the organization and the dedication at a young age that just put them on the map. I mean, Sparta's, their warriors are famous for a good reason.
What were you doing at 12? Do you think like were you doing anything like that?
I think I really wanted to be a Pokemon trainer at 12. To be the very best that no one ever could.
Oh God, we would get our ass beat in Sparta.
Yeah.
I'm like, one cloak a year? I'm like, I can't do it. And you're like, where's the Pokemon? I don't know. I don't know anything about Pokemon. Sorry.
That's okay.
Clearly.
I appreciate you trying to relate. You know? The idea is to try to find them. So you're already on a good path.
But either way, we'd get our ass beat in Sparta.
If I walked there right now, yeah, definitely.
If they dropped us in right now, we would still get our ass beat.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
that wouldn't be close.
These
the kids
are
would be
12.
Yeah. The 12-year-olds would be able to kill us within seconds.
Yeah. And then bully us before.
Oh, they seem like they like torturing.
Yeah, they really do. Yeah, they do. So, yeah, I mean, education and reading and writing were minimal, but the idea of song and dance was encouraged because it could play into teamwork and into battles, such as the phalanx setup. Do you know about the phalanx? Have you heard of it?
Oh, yeah. That's their battle formation.
Yeah, so it's their fighting style. The soldiers called hoplites carried 20-pound shields on their arms and wore up to 70 pounds on bronze armor and a spear in the other. And to drop your shield is a disgrace and even death. So they're wearing about 90 pounds of armor. I mean, maybe that's normal back then, but that's a lot.
It's super heavy.
That's a lot. And to drop your shield is it's disgrace. And because they were a team effort, half your 20-pound shield is for you and the other is for the left of you. That is why dropping your shield is a disgrace. As I said, the phalanx formation was about 8 men deep, but they sometimes could do it with just 4 men deep. And the use of the shield was important by collectively pushing the enemies, unbalancing them, and the shield kept the phalanx protected while the soldiers in the back with the longer spears could attack. The idea was you had to trust your teammate. That's why everything, all of this craziness before how they're being raised is truly about isolating them and making sure they are the tightest and closest teammates as possible.
Yeah.
So your neighbor was everything. They fought as a team and as a group. They decimated other armies who did not. And this quickly became an admired fighting style. And why I mentioned that music was important to them is because with music, they were able to change directions. So they were able to use music as to communicate.
Yeah.
Which you'd be really good at since you're a musician.
Well, I imagine it was probably something in the sort of I don't even know what the music sounded like, but I'd be kind of curious.
Just drums.
If it was just drums or like something like a whistle. You imagine like a coach at basketball or any sport just calling the whistle to run the drills.
Mm-hmm.
So they knew by the sound of that note that they're turning right now or they're rotating or something.
Crazy to see a phalanx. Like it's so organized.
And efficient phalanx in action. Yeah. That's just a killing. They're probably just mowing through people.
Oh my God.
Who are just running at them to go fight one-on-one. And these guys are.
Oh my gosh, right? Because at least in the movies, when people come to fight, there's always a group of people who run forward first, and then there's the spears and cannons or whatever. But these guys are in a tight circle or square.
Yeah.
With complete blockage because of the shields, and you just got these long spears coming at you. I mean, and they're working with music, so they're organized.
Yeah, with music, it just cuts through the air way better than someone yelling something. People are yelling everything in war. You wouldn't even be able to hear anything besides something like music, and that's probably invented from their total infatuation and to war. Yeah, to know what would cut the sound of the battle.
It's so smart. So I wanted to explain real quick, why they were so good in these wars. And actually, I remember learning in college that people would hire Spartans to go fight their wars. Yeah,
mercenaries. But because they're famous now. So
yeah,
they can go. There's not a war going on in Sparta. Like, hey, you still want to kill someone? I bet. So.
Yeah. If there's no war, what are they going to do? The women are running the whole town. They have nothing to do. Like, besides kill helots. Like,
which they have a name for it. So
the Kryptia.
It's on the agenda.
Yeah, that's probably what they loved being hired because they were like perfect.
Yeah, it's like something to kill other than a helot.
Yeah. So the last test of this whole Spartan journey was a social test. At age 20, everyone voted on whether you could join the exclusive dining halls, aka be accepted by everyone, and if not, you're publicly humiliated and outcasted. If elected, you get a huge chunk of land given by the state with helot slaves, and you're now part of the top of Spartan hierarchy. So you could go through all of that, and then your peers are like, no. Yeah, you're not joining our dining halls or getting land or getting a woman or getting slaves. Nothing.
I wonder what thought process went into that, though. Do they stand before a council? And
I don't know.
Is it like a debate, or is it just...
like, we hate that guy.
Yeah. Would this person he's judged by his peers or the council already?
It looks like it says it says about everyone. So I think it's his peers.
His peers.
I guess since you are such a teamwork, if there's someone who's not working well with others, they're like, you're going to take us down in battle. If you're not.
Well, that's probably what they're judging him on. If it's the peers, if it's members of the council, they're probably judging influence or maybe other things like that. But
no, there's no money. So there's really nothing about wealth that could really go into it. I think it is about your peers, your own peers.
Well, influence could be rank, military rank.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So if that played a role, if they achieved a certain rank, they could come before the council. I mean, there's probably a lot of subtext here.
Yeah, I definitely can look into that. I don't know. But the point is, if you get outcasted, all of that was for nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing.
I mean, the odds of you surviving that long for it to become nothing would have been a feat in and of itself.
I would just leave Sparta. I'd be like, okay, never mind.
Yeah, you could be a mercenary.
I would just leave. I don't care where I'll go. I'm like, this is like all that torture. So... you'd be left alone. You have nothing. So takeaway key concepts from Sparta is they believed all men were equal, as you can see in their long lifestyle in the barracks, except for the helots, obviously. But they weren't about education or boasting. And unfortunately, they left very few written records in architecture, unlike the Athenians. So if you go to Laconia, you won't see like what you saw in Athens. I'm not saying that out of expertise. They didn't leave a lot because they didn't focus on that.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I imagine the Spartan towns not being super well developed like Athens or anything, just very utilitarian. This is its purpose. This lasts the weather or something.
Almost communist in a way. We're all here for one purpose. We're all going to live the same way. We're going to live together.
That's their purpose.
Yeah. So interesting. Yeah. So what happened to the Spartans? Why isn't this incredibly victorious, incredibly aggressive city-state? Why are they not still surviving today? The Spartans, I got this from the dailyhistory.org. Spartan was the victory of the Peloponnesian War, and by 400 BCE, it was the greatest power in Greece. and a major player in the Eastern Mediterranean. However, by 377 BCE, I mean, this is before Christ. This is so long ago.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Spartans had been defeated in the battle for the first time, and it lost Greece's leadership. Sparta's power declined due to the military, social, and cultural factors that allowed other states to challenge their preeminent position in the Greek world. Among longer-term trends that undermined Sparta was the decline of the number of citizens, which we talked about. Girls are fucking girls, guys are fucking guys. People are messing around with the helots. Men are never home. Also, you really couldn't be in the army unless you were a certain kind of way. It's just, they weren't creating a very populated civilization.
Yeah.
And honestly, the helots population was growing and there was a lot of revolts. So, not to mention, just being born in Sparta, you could be killed. So they're already killing off babies.
Yeah.
And you have to survive all of that. They're thinning out their own herd.
From the get-go.
From the get-go. So, since they formed the backbone of the army, this greatly weakened Spartan power. The premium placed on stability and order meant that Spartans distrusted change, and the conservatism meant that Sparta could not change to meet the challenges faced. Then the Peloponnesian War produced tensions in society that created wealth resulting in war booty, creating growing inequality between the citizens. AKA, they collapsed on themselves. They just didn't focus on other parts of their society, I feel like.
Yeah. Aristotle too much of a good thing.
Too much of a good thing.
They got caught in the trap.
But that's also why we know them. It's Sparta. They do get to leave even though they didn't write anything down. That's what's crazy. Why are we talking about it today? Probably through word of mouth.
Yeah.
Oh my God, if you heard about Sparta, they're coming. Like you hear about it.
Yeah.
And it brings fear.
Well, the stories come from survivors.
Mm-hmm. That's true. That's true. How much we just know so much is also impressive. And 400 before Christ, that is so long ago. So long ago.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine. So I know you knew about Sparta, but did you learn anything new?
I learned a lot of things new, yeah. Overall, what was the most fascinating thing about learning all this was the social context to it all. Because you just know Sparta's great at war,
Mm-hmm.
And then you kind of move on. It's really the one thing that sticks. Oh yeah, Sparta, they're warriors. Yeah, Sparta's warriors. So hearing about the woman in the towns having a predominant role, the bit about not being really good at or appreciated at food or really any other art types. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't think that would be something going on in such a culture that grew to such power and prominence. Yeah, that they would still not change. Yeah, they would just be so singularly focused still.
Yeah, that's what they were saying. That they were too conservative. They didn't want to move with the times. They didn't want to repopulate or change any part of their society to be like, hey, I think we're running out of people. That was their downfall, is they just didn't adapt.
Yeah.
It's totally fine, I guess, to keep doing what you're doing, but make sure you have enough people to survive, to have enough of a society.
That's Darwinism. You don't adapt, you don't evolve. Then
It's crazy that they didn't realize that, and they were, I feel like, all about Darwinism.
I think they were so focused on killing everyone else. It never really crossed their minds that they could be killed. God, I would love to meet a Spartan. Just put them with a therapist, honestly. They probably weren't fun to get along with. I mean, there's a reason they're dominant, but everyone doesn't want to work with Sparta. They just really must not like working with them. Mm-hmm. Which, I don't know. Maybe that's not all Spartans. And they don't even like to have fun. They drink pig's blood broth. Yeah, they're the crazy psychopaths that come into the party and drinking pig's blood. They're like, oh my God, the Spartans are here. Yeah, my carriage is here. I gotta go. Like, my carriage. I think I see my friends. My footman is here. I must leave. Gotta go. Yeah, so that's why I love learning about Sparta. Do you think you would be able to survive? And if not, what part would you be like a goner, you think? If I was raised in it as a kid, I want to give myself the benefit of the doubt that I wouldn't know any different and that I'd be in a position to compete. I don't know how long I'd last because, anyone can die in war. Anyone can lose a fight, which sounds like they're doing a lot of that. So I don't know what point I'd make it to. I'd like to think that I'd at least know a couple council members. Maybe have that meeting at least. Like, that would be my goal, to see if I could. I think you maybe make it past the social test. Yeah. I don't think that's your issue. I don't know where Well, maybe.
I don't know. I feel like, honestly, that cloak would really get me.
The cloak.
I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding.
Your thing would be to then get someone else's cloak. And then
They are about
they're
stealing.
only like, oh, I only have one cloak.
They are about stealing. And I do love cheese, so I think I would succeed at the cheese altar fight.
Yeah, no one's whipping you off cheese. That's not possible.
I feel like, yeah, honestly, the cloak would be my demise. So I'd probably be gone by like age 7 because I'd be like, oh my God, I'm so cold. It's so cold.
What do you think as a woman you'd be doing in the town?
Oh my God, living it up.
Like, what would you do?
Ride horses naked, drink wine, boss people around, talk to people all day.
Boss people around.
I don't know. They said they ran the estates.
You don't sound like a friend of Helots for sure.
No. I would actually be cool with them.
But you want to boss people around?
No, I don't know why I said that. They said they run the city states. So I'm just saying, like, they're just in charge of things. They're in charge of business, you know? So I think I would, I don't know, just be loving it. I would love it. You have all these different sexual partners and no one's telling you, you're a woman, you can't do that. Like, sex is bad. It's the opposite of that. The opposite. I'd be throwing the biggest, baddest parties in Sparta. That's probably what I'd be doing.
Yeah. Greek life.
Greek life. Exactly. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, so if you're in Athens as a man, you could live a life full of farming, politics, education, besides the military. But as a woman at the say Sparta, you probably would have a better life.
Yeah.
Because women in Athens could barely leave their home. So
crippling.
We're gonna take a quick wine break, and we'll be back for the last story, which is about Laskarina Bouboulina, who is a Greek national hero. Hey y'all, I hope y'all been learning a lot and are really enjoying the show. I just wanted to throw in a request to help comment, rate, and subscribe to the show on whatever platform you're listening on. It really helps expand the podcast, and the bigger the podcast gets, the better content I can produce. Also, I can have a better chance of getting special guests on for you guys. There's also a link on our website to contribute any donation to the show. This donation will help me get to my current goal, which is to get an editor on the show, so I can spend more time researching and creating, and it'll be a better listening experience for y'all, unless you truly are enjoying my editing. So this is already so much fun. I can't wait to see where this all goes and to have y'all on this ride with me. So thank you guys so much, and thank you for tuning in so early. And remember to check out our Instagram to see which story or country we're featuring next.
Okay.
Okay, say like a 2-minute second.
So we were talking about just the overall times and how when Greece was able to combine and Sparta was able to combine, like you were saying, with the rest of the city-states. You definitely see the military might of the brain power and resources of a city-state like Athens, and the military might and tactics of a city-state like Sparta working together. And we were just talking about, a little later, you mentioned Aristotle is coming up again because he's Plato. That whole journey is something maybe also to explore, just the lineage of Plato.
Oh, that'd be interesting.
But Aristotle's in that as well, and Aristotle was able to teach the person who combined all of the city-states along with a whole empire into India even, and that is Alexander the Great. Aristotle was Alexander the Great's philosopher, partner, his teacher, his mentor that he was given. And so this is all very, very, very focused on famous time in history because one of the greatest empires was about to form. And this is almost the Old Testament of how that was able to rise. Right? Yeah. This all came from the ideas of Athens, the military tactics, explorations, and discoveries of Sparta, other city-states. And then the Prince of Macedonia goes in, takes Hellenistic culture, takes it all over the place, and essentially dies like a Spartan. Yeah,
I think they just love war. I don't think they conquer. Alexander the Great would go in and be like, okay, now you're part of my empire. This is what we're going to do. I don't think Sparta was like, this is my land. I feel like they were like, that was fun.
Yeah. Back to Sparta.
I kicked their ass. Yeah. Back to Sparta, back to our
hometown. Yeah, let's go sneaking on our wives and going through some windows.
That's what I'm saying. I think it's so interesting. I don't want to quote myself or quote anything, but I don't think they were out for land conquest. They think they just genuinely.
That was something you'd have to check. I actually am not sure of Spartan's conquest, but I know the city-states were very, very adamant about keeping the lines drawn.
I understand that they wanted to fight. They wanted to fight Greece and stuff.
Yeah,
But,
they really wanted to fight Athens.
yeah. But as I was saying, if they were smart, they would combine Greece and Athens together. Greece would have the city-state. They would control the government and the philosophies and the art, blah, blah, blah. And Sparta would be the military. And that's why we were saying Sparta died out, is because they were singularly focused. They didn't focus on anything else, but they would have been a great military for someone who focused on the other things, which would have been Athens. But they were too busy fighting each other. Mm-hmm. So life lesson, look outside the box. You know, maybe your enemy that person can work together instead of fight each other. You know?
Yeah, there's opportunities for that too.
But it was just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds a year of hate.
Yeah.
And pride.
I'm sure a lot of it was in pride and a lot of misunderstandings.
Definitely.
Because they lived very, very different lives, but they're not even that far. I mean, they're, if it's raining in Sparta, chances are.
Yeah, it's raining in Athens. Yeah. I just love learning about Sparta. It was one of my favorite things I learned in college. I guess I just never heard of a society so ridiculously violent but organized and fascinating.
Yeah.
But we're going to jump ahead. We're going to end on a different story. We're going to jump out of the time of ancient times in Greece and Sparta. We're going to talk about the Greek revolutionary and naval commander, Laskarina Bouboulina. She was born in 1771. I think it was actually in Constantinople's prison where her father was put for revolting against the Ottoman Empire. And that's important to remember because she was born in a prison. Dad went to prison revolting. It's a kind of precedent that she's going to be a rebellious person.
In her blood. Yeah.
So he died in the prison. And after her extensive family moved to the island of Spetses, and where she grew up and married twice, first to a wealthy ship owner named Demetrius Ioannousis, and later to a Captain Bouboulina. Unfortunately, they were both killed by pirates. So Laskarina was a great businesswoman, and she took over Captain Bouboulina's trading business and began her own fleet, commissioning 4 new ships. And just like how she was born into the Ottoman Empire's wrath, her justice against the empire did not stop there. She joined a secret group called the Philiki Eteria, which is a secret organization plotting to overthrow the Ottoman control over Greece. Her principal role was a smuggler. She was bringing food, she was bringing weapons and ammunition into her island Spetses. And she also used her wealth to construct her own personal warship named Agamemnon, which is one of the largest vessels of the period. Just so sick.
Agamemnon, wow.
The Agamemnon, yeah.
That's the character from the
Isn't it from Homer?
Odyssey, right? Yeah, mm-hmm. Homer, yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, it's not the Odyssey, it's the Iliad.
Okay. Agamemnon was a king of the Mycenae and the leader of the Greek army in the Trojan War of Homer's Iliad.
Yeah.
So she was using her Greek mythology and she had the largest vessel of the period. So despite her being a widow, she decided to still continue the fight against the Ottoman Empire. She started smuggling and stuff to her island and now has a fleet. So she's ready to go. So we love her. And in 1821, the Philiki Eteria, which was that secret organization she's in, with the support of Russia and other revolutionaries, started the Greek War of Independence. Only 12 days after declaring war, she was the first to raise the Greek flag on her largest ship, the Agamemnon, and declaring where she stands is not secret anymore. She and her fleet started a naval blockade and started capturing coastal cities. I just wanted to explain that a naval blockade, from my understanding, is when you're blocking a city, you're pretty much suffocating them from having any resources coming in and out, right?
From the land, yeah.
From the land. So yeah, so she was using her fleet and probably growing her fleet and just suffocating all these other cities to make a point. And then she would capture the cities. So I just wanted to confirm that's what that meant.
Starve them out, yeah.
Yeah. So she was also present in the fall of Tripoli, which was Libya, our second episode. She was there at the fall of Tripoli and in September 1821. And during the subsequent attack on the Ottoman troops, she gave protection to female members of the Sultan's household, which I think that's
awesome. Should be a movie about this woman.
I know.
My goodness.
I know. So, which I love that because I feel like in a lot of men's conquests, it's been like just rape and pillage. But she's like, okay, I did my job. Everyone who's not an asshole soldier from the Ottoman Empire, y'all are free, you know? Mm. I really respect that. We are going to cover a lot of women warriors on this podcast because I think they're freaking awesome. Mm-hmm. So in the aftermath of the battle, she saw the creation of the new Greek state, the First Hellenic Republic. And if I'm not wrong, that's actually what Greece is called today. They don't call themselves Greeks. They're called the Hellenic Republic.
I'm not sure.
I'm pretty sure. I'm gonna look that. I actually looked it up earlier, but pretty sure that's what Greece is called now. But she was there to see the start of that, the new Greece.
Wow.
And she was behind the scenes of the war before it started. She was the first to openly state her sides with the flag on her largest ship, and was there to see the end of the Ottoman Empire's hold on Greece. She became very close with her Russian comrades during the war, and also the Greek general Theodoros Kolokotronos, and her daughter actually later married his son. So yeah, she took charge. That's why we really like her. But unfortunately, in this world, you can defeat death in so many ways, in so many brave ways, but in many battles. But her death was out of betrayal and sudden. On the 22nd of May, 1825, Bouboulina was killed in an argument with the head of the Koutoussis family, whose daughter, Bouboulina's son, had eloped with. While confronting the family from her balcony, she was shot through the head and died instantly. After her death, the Emperor of Russia gave her the honorary rank of Admiral in the Russian Navy, and at that time, it was the only woman in history to hold the title. Today, she's remembered as a Greek national hero without whom the Greeks may have not gained their independence.
Wow.
So cool.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I love from the very beginning, the minute she was born into a prison with the Ottoman Empire, she was ready to go.
Very Spartan of her from a young age, just to come up like that.
Yeah.
Always fighting.
Yeah. I mean, have you heard of Laskarina Bouboulina before?
No, I haven't.
And she's Greece's national hero. It's just amazing how we really latch on to certain names in history and then others get lost.
There's just so many names to review.
There are. But I want to make sure people's names don't
that's
die
a
in
good one
vain.
to know.
Especially that just shows if you really want to do something, if you really want to make a change, you can. She started with just simply smuggling things into her island, and next thing you know, she's at the fall of Tripoli. She killed the Ottoman Empire out of Greece. You know, she took them out. It started in small steps, but she did it. She's the first to raise the Greek flag on her ship. Just make a stand, you know?
Yeah.
So
She knew what she was about.
yeah. So if you really do believe in something, I think you really can make a change just on your own.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what
she didn't do it alone.
No.
Yeah.
But she took action.
But she did. And that's the biggest difference.
Yeah. But yeah, that's why I wanted to feature her on this podcast, because I don't want anyone's name to die in vain after they do such incredible things in life.
Mm-hmm. That'd be a great story.
Yeah, it would be a cool movie.
That'd be a great movie.
Wait, let's see what she looks like. What do you think Laskarina Bouboulina looks like?
I bet you she's short, but I see that playing it to her advantage, being a smuggler and all. Mm-hmm. I'm guessing she's pretty damn feisty.
Yeah.
Pretty damn feisty. But also fair.
Yeah.
And
she is fair.
Political. Mm-hmm. Like very aware. I think she's lived through so many different conditions of society, in a prison and a smuggler's
but also married two very wealthy men.
Yeah, married to very different. She's just been a part of so many different factors of society at the time.
That's true. All kinds of life.
But still true to herself. Mm-hmm. She didn't really get lost in the sauce there. So yeah, I imagine she's probably a super inspirational person.
Yeah.
That all men would follow into battle.
I would love to see a movie or something about it. I've never heard of her before. But to wrap up, this is a pretty big episode. We learned that it'd be great to be a woman in Sparta, but definitely not great as a man, unless you're a psychopath. We got to share one woman's badass story and how she created the Greece we know today. And honestly, Greece should be very, very proud of their national hero, Laskarina Bouboulina. Mm-hmm. And just any last thoughts? Because we did start talking. We started this podcast talking about how you went to Greece, and any last little tidbits or tips or last words about Greece?
Overall, I think it's definitely one of the cornerstones of modern civilization. Mm-hmm. So if you're listening to this episode because inside you want to travel, you want to go explore the world, and we're talking about people who explored the world and went through like what Bouboulina had experienced, and we're talking about what people had experienced in Sparta, and this is really what we live for. These kind of experiences with Bouboulina and whatnot, and to walk through Greece and just being a part of history. I think it's definitely worth the trip, and make it your own. Like we were talking about earlier, take the time. Take your time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, I can't wait to go one day, and then I can finally talk about it. But we do have one more Greek episode coming up, and it's actually the last episode of the season. The story is not like the others. We've covered my grandmother Lolly's trip to Greece, which is very cozy, and just hearing her talk, I can
by
just
the
listen
fireplace.
to it. Yeah. Then we did a short story on me and my grandma Lolly's favorite Greek myths. We did this one, which is super bloody, history heavy. And then our last, it's not like the others. It's very scandalous. It's about a possible murder and scandal among famous aristocrats. It's a spicy episode and definitely not PG. So tune in for that. And thank you, Kris, for coming.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Culture Cult is
Culture
always
Cult?
a pleasure.
You said it like that was my name. Thanks for having me, Culture Cult.
Thanks for having me.
My name's Marie. I just want to emphasize that. But speaking of Culture Cult, don't forget to rate, subscribe, and like on any platform that you're on. It really, really makes the world of a difference. And
It does.
there is a link on my link tree if you want to contribute anything. I'm trying to raise money for an editor, so you can do that too. But yeah, I guess, Kris, you'll be on for our next season because we're pretty much wrapped up
Congratulations.
for season 1.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Really. All we're talking about doing the action.
All doing the action.
Very Bouboulina of you.
Oh my God.
Very
Thank
Bouboulina
you.
of you. That
Thank
should
you.
be a compliment.
It is.
That should leave this room and be spread on this podcast. Oh,
Yeah.
Very Bouboulina of
Very
you.
Bouboulina.
Very Bouboulina. I like that for you.
So to all the Bouboulinas out there, I hope you have a great night. And this is how you say thank you in Greece. In Greek, it's Efkaristo. So Efkaristo.
Efkaristo to you too.
And cheers till next time.